to be beyond our control, we have to leave those aside. Because there's some obstacles that we can change, some issues that we can deal with, we can correct. And then there are others which we can't. They're beyond our control. As the Prophet ﷺ had said, if the jinn and the humans gathered together to benefit you, they could only benefit you with something which Allah had written for you. If the jinn and humans gathered together to benefit you, they could only benefit you with something which Allah has written for you. So there is an element of our lives which is beyond our control. And this is not something, as I said, unique to the Islamic point of view. There is a prayer which is called the Serenity Prayer. Non-Muslims, Christians and others use it. It says, we seek the patience to surrender to the unchangeable. First line. We seek the patience to surrender to the unchangeable. That's the same principle. If you can't surrender to the unchangeable, then you're going to be in turmoil and conflict about things that are beyond your control. So your chances of finding inner peace lost completely. So just the act of submission, surrendering to what is beyond your control, that gives you an element of inner peace. That is part of the contentment that is achievable by surrendering. Since we can't change these issues, then surrender to them. I'm born black in a world where white people are considered better. Can I change being born black? I'm born poor in a world where rich people are treated better. I'm born short in a world where tall people are favored. I'm born crippled in a world where people who are whole have advantages that I don't have. I mean, these are among the things that we can't change. How we're born, how we're created, are beyond our control. So therefore, we have to just surrender to it, accept it, and that will give us an element of inner peace. And Allah, in the Quran addressing this, said, perhaps you may dislike something which is good for you, and you may love something which is harmful to you. This is the reality of this life. What we complain about, what we see as unchangeable, we can't do anything about it, and we think, why me? Why is it this way? But there is good in it that we cannot identify. If God, if Allah has made us in a particular way, has put us in a particular circumstance, then there is good in it. This is part of the surrendering, knowing that God is just. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ahkamul hakimin. He is the most just of anyone who could be just. So there's no reason for us to question God why. Instead, we should say to ourselves, why not? Rather than why, we should tell ourselves, why not? Are we so good as to deserve a wonderful, easy life with no problems, etc.? Or are we making all kinds of mistakes? Are we committing all kinds of sins? So when a calamity strikes us, rather than saying, why God, why me? Tell ourselves, why not? What have I deserved? What have I done to deserve other than this? In fact, God is merciful. It's only a small calamity. Really, I deserve a much bigger calamity because of the way I've been living. So, the idea of surrendering to the unchangeable, accepting the destiny, what has happened in our lives, this is the first step to achieving a measure of inner peace. True inner peace in the sense that, hey, no worries, life is going on beautiful, no issues. That is Jannah. That is what we seek at the end of this life. Allah already told us in this life we are created in kabad, struggle. That's reality. That's the unchangeable. Struggle is inevitable. We'll find struggle wherever we turn. But the point is, there is an element of inner peace that we can find, which we can weave in between the struggles, which will keep us on an even keel. It will balance the struggle. Struggle on one side and the peace on the other side to keep us on an even keel. And this is why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said in another hadith, do not look at those above you who are more fortunate. Instead, look to those below you who are less fortunate. Looking to those above you, again, that will never bring any peace to you. That in fact just drives you through your jealousy, through your desires for what other people have, to never be satisfied. The grass is always greener on the other side. As the Prophet ﷺ said, if the child of Adam is given a valley of gold, he would want another one. Never satisfied. Alhaakumut takathur. Driven by the desire to accumulate of this world whatever we can. And what drives us is looking at others. Somebody always has more than we have. So we'll always be hustling, running, trying to get more. But instead, if we looked at those less fortunate, that can help to settle us down. Hey, it's not so bad after all. There are people, so many people who are far worse off. And no matter how bad our situation is, no doubt there are many people in this world far worse off than we. So, accept, surrender to the unchangeable. The second point of the Serenity Prayer is spiritual strength to change the changeable. Spiritual strength to change the changeable. Where does that come from? That comes from turning to God. Turning our affairs over to God. Seeking Allah's guidance in our lives. Putting our trust in Him. That we get the strength to deal with the issues that we can change. The third point in the Serenity Prayer is wisdom to realize the difference between the two. Between the changeable and the unchangeable. Because if we don't have the wisdom, then it's confusion. We'll be struggling with things that we can't change, and we'll be accepting things that we can change. And of course, we'll not achieve peace, any measure of real peace in our lives, if we don't put them in the correct categories. So for the things that we can change, where we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Him to help us, we have to focus on, in the things that we can change, first and foremost on where? Where should we focus first? Huh? Salah. Okay. What about zakah? What about fasting? Because if we're in Ramadan, should we not focus on fasting? In general, what we should focus on is ourselves. Salah is a part of focusing on ourselves, but the general principle is we should focus on ourselves. When Allah said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. or you will believe, save yourselves and your families from the hellfire. Yourself first. It's of no use to be worried about everybody else. Put all of our energies in activities concerning others, and we leave ourselves unsaved. This is a major error on our parts. We cannot make real change that way. Meaning, we can parade down the streets, make demonstrations for Iraq, what is happening in Iraq, and Chechnya, and Kashmir, and all over the Muslim world. We can spend all year long marching for every cause out there. But here in Bradford, our children are going to non-Muslim schools, being destroyed by the society. Drugs, crime, all this is rampant amongst us. In our jails, we have people who are Hafiz Quran. But we're parading down the street for Chechnya, Bosnia, for everybody. But we are not taking care of ourselves. Why? Why do we do that? Because it's easy to parade down the street with placards and make a lot of noise for Chechnya and Kashmir. It's difficult to establish schools for our children. That takes real effort. And our nature is to shy away from real effort. Take the paths of least resistance, what's easy. And of course, we can't make any real change that way. We expend a lot of energy on things which are important, but not the most important. Prioritize. Putting first things first. Where do we begin? We have to begin with self. Second, we have to admit ultimately that we are powerless. Without the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot change anything. We can identify it, we can desire to change it, but without the help of Allah, of God, we can't change it. That is reality. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no change, la hawla wa la quwwa, and no force, no power, illa billah, except by the permission of Allah. This is reality. These are the realities that we have to come to grips with if we are serious about achieving inner peace, achieving the necessary changes to produce in our lives inner peace. Thirdly, we have to accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our lives as being the only power who can help us. One is recognizing that we're powerless. The other one is accepting Allah in our lives seriously to make that change. Accepting Allah in our lives means we have to stop for a minute and really think. Do I really believe in Allah? Or is it only a word that I say because everybody else around me says it? La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of worship but Allah. Am I saying it as a parrot says it? Or do I really believe it in my heart? Is it reflected in my actions? Or am I living as if really there is